Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers here to talk Seahawks football. We've got a preview show for you today. Seahawks travel to New York and play the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. We've got a little bit to talk about of what we're seeing on the defensive side of the ball so far this year, both good and bad. We've got some great additions coming back to the team. It sounds like this week, Keith. And all in all, Seahawks are in pretty good shape, looking to go 3-1 before the bye week.
Yeah, they're in good shape, and I think that they're between just guys getting healthy because they were banged up coming out of camp, and some other bunch of guys have gotten hurt since then. I don't typically like the bye week this early because it means you got a long stretch of games without a break. But this is a team that could use an opportunity to get healthy. They had 10 players not practice.
Right.
And this, like yesterday. And that is a lot of guys sitting out because of injuries.
Yeah, I haven't seen today's injury report. But yeah, they were really cautious with a bunch of guys, limited participation. Will Disley, Julian Love, Artie Burns, full go though. Jamal Adams and Reek Woolen. I think that's the biggest story out of this list. Other than possibly Uchenna Nwasu with an Achilles listed as an injury. I want to talk about that for just half a second, but getting Jamal Adams back and Reek Woolen is going to be a huge lift for this defense just at the right time. Give them a chance to kind of get acquainted before the bye week, and then have that extra practice time and really come in after the bye to really start honing this defense for the home stretch. And this should be a good game for them to kind of come in and have a warm up. The Giants are. The expectation for the Giants was they were going to be on par with where the Seahawks are at. They were a playoff team last year. Brian DeBall had them playing well. Everything was going well last year. They extended their quarterback, which I didn't agree with, but that's what they did. Daniel Jones, they kind of were in a hard spot, if you will. They were in a mediocrity kind of a situation where if they didn't sign him, what else were they going to do? He was just on the mostly outside for me, looking in as far as the quarterback that deserved to be paid. But they paid him like franchise dollars, like $40 million a year type stuff with $87 million fully guaranteed. I kind of locked him in. They brought back Shaquan Barkley. So it's a pretty, it's a decent roster, but they've been completely underperforming. They've also had their major injury bug this early in the season. They've had horrible games to start. I think Dallas laid 40 points on them in the opener before halftime against Arizona in week 2. Arizona was up 20-0. So they had allowed
they'd given up 60 points before they scored their first point.
Right. They did come back against Arizona and won, but then last week against the 49ers, they looked awful, got dominated really by a much better team. So I like our chances in this game. We'll get all into it. We'll talk about all the details. But anyway, how you doing? I was in New York this last week. Got rained on substantially while I was there. I was able to record a show with you. I didn't know that we were going to do that.
I didn't know that we were going to do that. That was not the plan. Thanks for the flexibility to jump on when we our guest couldn't make it. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it just happened to work out on the schedule where we were timing wise. I was done with my day and back in the hotel, and you were able to get on right after the game. So it worked out. Yeah. So you wanted to talk a little bit about where the Seahawks are at right now, as far as the defensive side of the ball is concerned. Before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about some roster stuff really quick. We kind of do this all the time. Seahawks signed John Radigan off the practice squad to the active roster. In conjunction with that, they waived Cody Thompson, wide receiver Cody Thompson. He did clear waivers and is signed to the practice squad now at this point. Wanted to talk to you about the roster composition a little bit around that. Seahawks currently only have 3 running backs and 4 wide receivers on the active roster, a couple of defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends on the active roster, 4 tight ends, 5 guards, 6 off the ball linebackers, and 6 corners. It's just kind of a weird, wonky kind of a way to put a roster together, but it seems like they're still trying to figure it all out.
Well, yeah, I think it's a 1 week thing. I mean, they are looking at the fact that they've got a bunch of injuries at certain positions, so they need extra bodies. And they're like, okay, we can go with 4 receivers and get a guy like Cody Thompson through to the practice squad in order to create room for another guard, because all of the guards are hurt. And
he can come up 3 times off the practice squad.
Yeah.
And that swap with Radigan was kind of that the way they manipulate the roster.
Yeah. Because Radigan was running out of ways for them to get him up off the practice squad. So they had to either leave him on the practice squad and not have him play, or get him on the 53. So they did that. And for 3 weeks now, Cody Thompson and John Radigan switch places, where Cody Thompson comes up off the practice squad to be eligible in games. And 3 weeks from now, they'll have to figure out what they want to do with it, because by then you either have to have them both on the 53 or one of them's not playing.
Right. And by then something else will happen. So that was kind of the roster stuff. It wasn't a huge list. We talked about the injuries. Let's get into this defensive discussion with regards to the Seahawks. I think so far, if we were to grade them, Keith, it would be kind of a B minus overall. They've had some good performances, but they've also underperformed on quite a few different areas. I wanted to lay out some stats, just kind of start this conversation a little bit. The run defense so far has actually been really good. And we're getting ready to face Saquon Barkley. Apparently he's had 2 practices in a row after coming off an ankle. And so it looks like he's going to play. Last year he had 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns, and runs the ball effectively. So, but Seattle has done really well. They allowed 52 yards to Kyron Williams in the first game. David Montgomery had 67 yards as their top rusher against the Detroit Lions. Carolina, Miles Sanders had 9 carries for 24 yards, only 44 yards total rushing. They're the 3rd lowest yards per carry team, the Seahawks.
2.9.
6th
only
lowest
the Browns and Titans
total rushing yards.
Yeah, only the Browns and Titans have been better on a per carry basis, which, considering how awful the rush defense was a year ago, that is a phenomenal shift.
Yeah. And that's the upside. That's the upside of this defense. We've managed to stop the run. However, if you take a look at the pass defense, Seattle's pass defense is allowing 328 yards per game, 31st in the league, ranks 28th per EPA per drop back. No pass defense has allowed more explosive plays than the Seattle Seahawks. 20 plus yards is defined as an explosive play. They've allowed the 2nd most air yards and completed passes as a defense. So why run the ball on Seattle when you can throw it all over the field? Yeah.
26th in the league in yards per attempt. They're giving up 7.5 yards per pass attempt, which is
not good.
That's just bad.
Not good, considering the talent that we should have out there now. Now, Rick Woolen's been injured. Kobe Bryant has struggled again. Integrating Julian Love into this defense has been a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a disappointment, I think, considering the expectation level. I think coming in, And we can talk about those things. But now that we kind of know that we've been defending the run pretty good and we're really bad at defending the pass, where are we at as a team, Keith?
Well, I think that, Reek Woolen, Jamal Adams are both getting healthy. That's going to fix the Kobe Bryant situation, and just getting Reek back a little bit is going to be helpful because Trey Brown's been up and down, has had some good moments, but had some also awful moments. And just getting, Reek's a really stable presence as a very high level player, and getting that back is going to help a lot. They also need to get after the quarterback a little better. And I think that's something that they can do. They just need, but the coaching staff clearly is not going to hurt the run defense to help the pass defense in terms of the pass rush. And so guys are just going to have to beat their the guy in front of them and just get there. And that's sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, Seattle ranks 29th in both yards allowed and points allowed through the first 3 weeks.
They've given up more passing first downs than any team in the league. We've given up 51 first downs through the air. The Chargers are second in the league at 47. And if you look at it, the Browns have only given up 14 first downs through the air. Cowboys have only given up 19 first downs through the air.
Well, it all depends on your opponents for sure. So let's have that context. I mean, one of those opponents that the Cowboys had was the Giants that we're going to face. And looking at this team as well, looking at this game specifically, this is an opportunity, I think, for Seattle to kind of get back within the bounds of normal as far as statistically is concerned. Can they improve? Can they do better against this team? I think they can. The reason I think that they can, when you take a look at quarterback pressures and sacks, okay, Seattle is ranked 29th in sack rate, but the Seahawks have a solid pass rush grade at 71.3 overall. It's because they're getting pressures. And Daniel Jones has been under pressure a lot. He's under pressure, 46.7% of his dropbacks, the highest rate in the league, twice as many as the second worst team. He's also been, go ahead.
I would say, and the Giants' left tackle was limited in practice on Thursday and then did not practice on Friday.
Yes.
When the guys
Thomas.
are moving backwards in terms of their how much work they can handle during the week.
Now,
that's never a good sign.
Brian DeBall did downplay that a little bit in that it's a Monday game. And so that they were just kind of giving him some rest. But nonetheless, he's missed a couple of weeks already, coming in with a high ankle sprain, and he's day to day. So, but I was going to say, Daniel Jones has the highest. He's been sacked 12 times, intercepted 4 times in the first 3 games. He's able to run the ball. He can run the ball for you. He's going to get you about 40 yards on average per game rushing the ball. So he's going to be able to move around a little bit, but he's getting sacked a lot. He's getting pressured a lot. Their offensive line is not great. I think this is a game Seattle can really take advantage of their pass rush and really be good on the defensive back side of this equation. And if they can stop Saquon Barkley, if they can stop the run, they've been doing that effectively already. And you take a look at what Seattle, I think, might be able to do on the offensive side of it. This is a game that I think we could explode.
Yeah, it's definitely
in a good way. In a good way.
I mean, the Daniel Jones is not the type of guy that's going to beat Seattle's defense.
He's not confident. He's just not a confident thrower.
Andy Dalton is a guy that's going to frustrate Seahawks fans because his ability to complete a really high percentage of really short passes works against Seattle's defense. Daniel Jones isn't that. He's a move around, try and throw it deep, take off and run, he's more mobile and that it got his stronger arm, but completes a much lower percent of his passes. That's not going to beat Seattle. That's not the type of guy that
Right.
hurts the Seahawks. So overall, I'm not expecting the Giants to give Seattle much resistance in terms of that, but it's more of a what happens. I mean, trying to put a better way to put this, but if they give up a lot of yards, especially in the fourth quarter, to Daniel Jones, I think there's some serious problems with this defense. And it might even go to the play caller, because this is not a team that you should be giving up a lot of fourth quarter points to. A lot of yards, a lot of fourth quarter points.
I'm not getting that feeling, although, they were able to come back big time against Arizona, but Arizona had already put 20 points on them. I think that says more about the Giants defense than the offense. The offense did come back and ended up scoring over 30 points to win that game, 31-28, something like that. So they did score 31 points in a half, is what I'm trying to say. They can score points down the stretch, especially if we get up big on them and it's meaningless yards. I'm not going to be so concerned with that. We've seen that before. Well, but if it's a close game and we're letting them do that, that's going to be a problem.
The Seahawks let the Rams run up the score in the fourth quarter. Then they then gave up a big lead in the fourth quarter to the Lions and had to go win it in overtime. They gave up 14 points against Carolina with a backup quarterback in the fourth quarter. And it's becoming a trend. And
so we do get Jamal Adams back and Reek Woolen back. I think Reek Woolen is underrated. That's going to be huge for this defense. You get Witherspoon out there. Take a look at Witherspoon. 11 tackles the last game, targeted 13 times by Andy Dalton. Of those 13 targets, only allowed 5 completions for 31 yards, 2 pass breakups, several tackles. Just kind of made a physical impact on the game. It was nice to see. Love that. You combine that with Reek Woolen. Woolen's been out, a little bit, and it's easy to forget the kind of physical impact he has on the game too. People don't like throwing against him because he's a physical guy, and he knows how to jump balls, jump routes, all that kind of stuff. Witherspoon combined there, I think it allows Diggs to kind of play better as well. Diggs hasn't been playing well, but I think he's kind of as he did last year. It seems like he's kind of compensating for a little bit of the corner play and Kobe Bryant. And so if we can
didn't play in this last game, after playing quite a bit in the first 2 games, he did not play in week 3. So we can't put the fourth quarter points Carolina put on him. The cornerback who's played the most snaps for Seattle so far this year is Devin Witherspoon, who did not play in week 1.
Wow.
Right?
That's interesting. That's an interesting stat. Yeah.
Trey Brown is second. And he's
if you're going to add all defensive backs too, Julian Love has got to be up there as well. Julian
Love and Quandre Diggs both have about 50 more snaps than any of the corners.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, I think that if Woolen stays healthy, you've got 2 great corners, I think, on this team. And some of the other guys are pretty decent as well. Mike Jackson is a decent guy, very good tackler.
He came on. It was good in the summer, good at the beginning of training camp. Seemed to peak and have like a down stretch in the last couple weeks of the preseason. Trey Brown kind of took over that spot while they waited for Witherspoon to get healthy. But now that guys are getting healthy, Mike Jackson needs to be that third corner. He needs to be the guy that comes on the outside and they move Witherspoon in to the nickel.
What about Trey Brown?
3.
I know he's been injured and he has a little concussion thing going on, right? Is that what his deal is? Yeah,
I think
concussion.
So. I'd rather see Mike Jackson in there. Mike Jackson's played better when he's been on the field during the regular season than Trey Brown has. Trey Brown had a big interception. And we don't want to take that away from him. He's had a couple of big pass breakups too, but he's also given up a lot of yards and a few touchdowns.
Don't you feel, and I know, football is not necessarily a feeling. It's kind of weird that I'm saying this. Don't you feel like the Seahawks are going to get better on defense? Don't you just kind of, for me, I just feel like we haven't seen the best of this defense yet. And they're still trying to figure it out and kind of scheme it out a little bit and get their players healthy. And Jamal Adams is just a huge wild card in this thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, and I would agree with the fact that I think that they are, they're on the verge of having this kind of breakthrough a little bit, because now they're going to get guys healthy and they're going to get a chance to play and practice together for the first time. And once everything kind of clicks, it should really click. But I would not just say, yeah, that's going to happen, even though it feels like it might, because when you've got a guy like Uchenna Nwasu, who's such a big piece of the defense, now on the injury report with an Achilles injury.
Yeah, they got to be very cautious, especially with the bye week coming up.
And they're so thin up front on the defensive line already. Yeah, it feels like they're getting other guys back, but it also, I mean, so you think, oh, they're going to pop and this is going to be great. But then you look at how bad things are up front and you think, are the wheels about to come off on this? Because they're one Jerron Reed injury away from.
Well, look, I mean, go look at the injury report go look at the injury report from Thursday, which is the last one that was available at the time of this recording. Draymond Jones hip did not practice. Quandre Diggs hamstring did not practice. Jerron Reed quadricep. Quadricep did not practice. Uchenna Nwasu Achilles did not practice. Darrell Taylor shin did not practice.
Phil Haynes calf did not practice. DK Metcalf ribs did not practice.
Trey Brown concussion.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant toe did not practice. That's a very long list. This is one of the longest midweek injury lists I've seen. Yep. And there was a whole bunch of limited guys as well. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And Monday's, a few days away. It's not unusual to see guys listed this way and then be full bore on game day. So I'm not too concerned with it at this point, especially with the bye coming up and a weaker opponent. I don't want to discount New York too much, but I think if we're missing a couple of guys, I think we'll be okay. We've got a deep roster this year. You've mentioned the linebacker shortage. I mean, if Darrell Taylor and Nwasu were both out, I think we'd be in serious trouble. But Boye Mafe's turning out to be one of the best rushers, pass rushers of his class.
Boye Mafe's looked really good. He missed that second game against the Lions, and it showed. Like they missed him. In that game.
Yeah,
but
Mario Edwards is having a great year. Great. He's getting a lot of pressures that were unexpected. I mean, the guy's been known as being a run defense guy, and he's been doing great at that. But he's also given us a little bit of help getting to the passer. Hasn't gotten there, but he's getting the pressures.
As long as you're getting pressure, pressure is production. So,
yeah, Cameron Young's been looking good. Jerron Reed had a monster game last game.
Oh yeah,
he needs to play. He's probably the key cog in this defense right now as it goes. I mean, Uchenna Nwasu is definitely the key piece of this defense. But Jerron Reed in the middle, man, he's had a heck of a season so far. If he continues to play like that, that's a pro. He's having a Pro Bowl level season.
Agreed.
So, yeah. Okay. So we've got 6 off the ball linebackers on the roster. What's up with that?
Special teams. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Is they're trying to keep the special teams stocked, and it's not like Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, Devin Bush, those guys aren't going anywhere. Those are the guys that are going to play. John Radigan and Nick Ballore and whoever the sixth one is, whose name
Drake Thomas.
Yeah, Drake Thomas. Those guys aren't getting a lot. Those guys aren't scheduled to get snaps. They're just not. They're there for special teams.
Yeah.
And after this game, sometime either during the bye week or before the bye week starts, at least one of those guys will no longer be on the roster, and they'll be moving him to the practice squad in order to create room for someone else. But for this game, they needed another special teams guy. They brought up another linebacker.
Yeah. There's a couple of spots that really kind of going into this game are mild concerns for me. Only having 4 wide receivers. I understand that a maximum of 4 guys are on the field all at the same time, but we're 1 injury away from being in trouble there. We do have 4
Cody
tight
Thompson
ends.
will be pulled. Cody Thompson will be pulled up off the practice squad. He'll be in uniform.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. You just made me feel a little bit better. I forgot about that. Cool. So what are your keys to the game?
Stop Saquon Barkley.
Stop
Saquon Barkley. Don't get beat over the top. Keep the stuff in front of you. Stop the running game. And you do that, you're going to win this game.
Yeah. Interesting. It is the same formula we're going to see over and over again, for every team, because the Seahawks are prolific on offense and they're just getting started. I mean, they really haven't had their full complete roster yet. Kenny McIntosh is still out. We're still trying to figure out the wide receivers. Derek Young's going to come back. Dwayne Eskridge is going to be eligible to come back in a few weeks. We're still integrating our offensive line together, which is still going to be kind of wishy-washy. Charles Cross may have a chance to play, although he didn't practice Thursday. So teams are really going to have a hard time putting points, keeping up with us. And if we can stop another team running the ball, almost every game is going to be that. That's going to be the first and foremost thing to do, because if we turn teams one-dimensionally and we get our pass rush going a little bit, our defensive backs, like Woolen had 6 or 7 interceptions last year. We already know Witherspoon's kind of a ball hawk. Diggs is a ball hawk. I think you're going to start to see the turnover machine start to kick in on this team. I think that the one thing that kind of been missing a little bit is just really generating a lot of turnovers. I think we're +2 so far in turnover ratio, which isn't bad this time of the year, but I think that's going to be a more important factor as time goes on. Could be a factor in this game. Daniel Jones is prone to that. He's already got 4 picks on the season. I think if you can be physical with Saquon Barkley, he could turn the ball over. Look for a guy like Uchenna Nwasu to be a guy behind the line of scrimmage that can cause some havoc with him. Yeah. So okay. So let's get to predictions. I went first last time. What's your shot? What do you got?
I just have a hard time seeing New York putting up points in this game. I think Seattle keeps the score low, and because they're not threatened, they're content to run the ball a lot. Let Charbonnet and Walker shorten the game, and because of that, we end up with a lower scoring game. And Seattle wins it pretty easily. Something like let's go 24-13.
Yeah. Interesting. You almost had the same prediction against the Panthers, if I remember correctly. Kind of feed the ball to the backs, let, shorten the game a little bit, et cetera. I get that. I agree with that. But again, you're dealing with a team with really, really bad pass defense. Their defensive line guys like Dexter Lawrence, it is their strength. There's no question about it. But I think if we can attack that, get them off balance, move the pocket around. We saw that last game. Shane Waldron did a great job doing that. I see them having a really well-balanced attack in this game. I see them getting close to 400, at least 400 yards total offense. putting up about 30 points. We're averaging right now about 27 and a half, 28 points a game. I think we go over 30 in this game. Other teams with lesser offenses have done that or gotten close against them so far this year. And then they're struggling to score the ball. They just are. They're averaging about 15 points a game. They got blown out, shut out. Their first game, 40-0 against the Cowboys. Really struggled against Arizona in the first half last a couple weeks ago. And the 49ers had 300 more yards than they did and had the ball for 40 minutes against the Giants. And Giants only had the ball 20 minutes. So I see a game where we just kind of dominate in all three phases of the game and win this thing. I'm going to say like 35-17.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take it.
You know what? Here's the thing. We're both predicting double-digit wins. I think that makes for a stress-free Sunday, or in this case, Monday. Yeah. And yeah, we could use that. That's kind of what we're both looking for. I think that I don't know if New York's good enough. They're just not a good football team. And you wouldn't have thought that coming into the season. I would have. They were predicted to be a little bit better. I was expecting them to be all right. Did I expect that, compete for a playoff spot? Mainly because the NFC is really weak. But I was not expecting them to get beat 40-0 and then to be down big to a talent poor Arizona team. They're playing. Arizona's playing hard, and that's a good coaching staff who's got them working. But I think that the fact that Arizona was able to move the ball so well against that defense, it tells me that there's something really wrong in New York. And I think that the Seahawks should be able to take advantage of it. Yeah, I think so too. I think you can sense it there too. And I've read, I was back in New York, listened to a few guys talk about the team and saying there's just no heart. There's the lack of heart, lack of discipline, lack of effort is a kind of a common theme happening right now with that team. And that's tough. Now they've had 11 days in between their last game against the 49ers to this Monday game. So it's given them a long time to kind of put this thing together. If it's going to happen, this is their rebound game. This is their game. You go look at their schedule. It doesn't get any easier. I think they play Miami next. Miami's 3-0, one of the 3-0 teams in this league. Only one of three, I think. Yeah. And then they play Buffalo coming up. And, just on and on. It doesn't get any easier for them. So this is a game on their schedule that they're looking at that they want to get. I just don't think that they have enough. I really do. I think Seattle has shown that they're a decent team other than that first half against the Rams. I think that this team looks back on track, and I think that they just take it to the Giants really on Monday Night Football, which they've always played well against. Played well on Monday Night Football. So, all right, that's it. Let's get out of here. Let's get back after the game, probably on Tuesday. I would imagine in the afternoon we'll record a recap show, and hopefully we'll start getting back to our regular 3 shows a week schedule as well, and have a preview show for you for the following. We won't have it, I guess, this week coming up because we're gonna have the bye week, but we'll put together something for you guys. So, all right, find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. You can find me at NWC Hawk. The show is at Hawks Playbook on Twitter. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, share it, leave a great comment. That would be great. And we'll talk to you guys next week, hopefully after a victory. So take care, guys. Go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NWCHawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.